to Science at the Skansie House.
We are doing these fun broadcasts courtesy of the City of Gig Harbor's Lodging Tax Advisory Committee. They have graciously given us the funds to bring you some really cool programming from here at the Skansie House. So while we're closed, we're going to be focusing on some of the really cool exhibits and things that we have. And today, we've got our skull collection to talk about. So what I think we'll do is we'll teach you how to read a skull, first of all, and then we will try to stuff one of another.
Yeah, we kind of call this skull salute because we're going to teach you how to read a skull, and then by the end of the program, hopefully you'll get one, and based on all the characteristics, you'll be able to identify it, and
that's the hope.
Amazing. Or you can always be like, hey, Steve and Rachel, I found this weird skull and I want to know what it is. We're pretty good at sleuthing for you, but we want to teach you how to fish today. So,
all right. So,
what's the first thing we need to know if we were, say, walking? Well, really, location, right? So, I'm walking on the beach, I find a skull. That's a clue. I'm walking in the forest, I find a skull. Aha, another clue.
You're on safari in Africa and you find a skull.
Yeah.
That's gonna help narrow your focus of animals down. The next thing to look at is trying to determine, is it a mammal skull, a bird skull, or maybe a reptile or something else. And mammal skulls are pretty easy because they have all the same parts that you do. So you can look at your skull.
Hey.
Does it have 2 eye holes? Does it have teeth? That's kind of the main definitive factors for a skull of a mammal.
Are there any skulls that have more than 2 eye holes?
They wouldn't be eye holes, but they look like.
Just checking.
Well, like, you're asking me complicated questions. Have you ever looked at a frog skull? They're weird.
No, we need to find a frog skull.
I know. I'm not going to kill my frog. He'd be really mad about that.
Someday.
Maybe if he dies, we will do that. But we're going to
Harbor Wild watch, not Harbor Wild kill.
That's true. So we're going to use our own skull. Luckily, you all have a skull at home that you can use as your model. So we're going to start by looking at the eyes. Eyes are really easy to identify. They're the 2 symmetrical holes that either face forward or face off to the side. So we've got an example here of a forward-facing eye in Alfonso here, my human. He is a replica skull. Some of our skulls here in our collection are replicas. Some of them are real skulls. We'll try to tell you the difference as we go if we can remember. But Alfonso came from Amazon. So we've got the 2 forward-facing eyes. This one that Stina's holding up has eyes that are on the side of its head. And there's a really easy little rhyme to help you remember. Eyes in front likes to hunt. Eyes on the side likes to hide. So animals with eyes forward-facing are typically predators, although not always. Sometimes that forward-facing eye arrangement is used for stereoscopic vision, meaning you see a slightly different picture from your left eye and your right eye, and they overlap to give you some depth perception. So animals like monkeys swinging through trees would need to have good depth perception, and so they tend to have forward-facing eyes, even though they might have a totally herbivore diet. So not always hunting, but good depth perception in those forward-facing eyes. And then we've got the eyes on the side. That can tell you that this is a prey species. It's watching out for predators that would be in the environment. You can also look at the size of the eyes as well. So very, very large eyes tend to be found in nocturnal animals. Smaller eyes are found in diurnal or daytime active animals. So eyes is a really good clue.
Yeah.
Sometimes the eyes are tricky to observe because they might be more of an open eye socket rather than a closed one like you and I have. So you can feel your eye socket by using your fingers. Don't squish the squishy part of your eyeball, but you can feel the bone beneath it and reach all the way up, and you've got that brow bone on the top, and then it comes down to your nose and then all the way around. Well, this animal, you'd have a hard time feeling their bone on the back half because it's open. So that can be a little bit tricky for determining the eye size for an animal like this, but we'll get to what this is in just a moment.
Yeah, and speaking of size, that's another really good clue, because if I find a skull that's this, I'm probably not going to conclude, oh, it's a hamster, right? That would be a really freakishly large hamster. Also, if you found a really tiny skull, doesn't necessarily mean
not a horse.
It could be a baby of something, but it's not a horse or an elephant. So
this is something I find people are terrible at.
really bad.
Really bad. We've taken our skull
Impressively.
collection to different like open houses and things like that where I'll have people try to guess, and they're awful at it. Just everybody. Oh yeah.
Like it's a mouse. You're like the mouse's body isn't even this like.
Yeah. That's a rat
It's
body.
a terrifying mouse. Yeah, it's a rat body size. So we'll get to size and then like corrected for floof and feathers, right?
Yeah, right. The fleshy part of your body goes away, and only the bones remain in the skull. So, yes, it's not immediately intuitive, but thinking critically about the size of things and using your own skull as a guide is helpful.
We believe in you. Anyways, okay, so eyes, the size. What else might we look at to?
So other things that you can look at would be things like the nose. So I'm gonna pop my mask down and show you how incorrectly to wear your mask. But I need to show you the wiggly parts of my nose. So the wiggly part, this part right here is the
cartilage.
Thank you. My brain said calcium. I was like, no, it's not. Cartilage is a soft, flexible material. But if you feel upwards, you kind of walk your fingers up, you'll feel the hard part. Don't go up the middle because that's just gross. But on the sides is your hard part of your nose bone. And so on Alfonso here, it's really, really small. He's got a really narrow nose bone. It's not very wide. It doesn't extend really long. And then you can compare that to other animals. So this one right here has got a really long nasal passage, and we can look inside that nose. And also the orientation of the eyes to the nose, right? Is the nose like right in front of them? Is the nose kind of at a different angle? That can help you kind of picture the animal that it came from as well.
Definitely.
The nose can also give you some clues about the sniffing abilities of the animal. Animals that communicate by smell tend to have big noses. So Stina's got one right here that's got a nice wide, big nose.
Once upon a time, it used to have really like somebody's definitely stuck their finger in there. That the really fragile, lacy nasal concha.
This one shows it off pretty well.
Yeah, but the more surface area in there, the better the sense of smell. So I know whatever animal this is, it's got a
good nose on that animal.
That might either help it communicate with other species of its species.
Now, that's not to say that that humans have a terrible sense of smell.
Yeah.
We have good sense of smell that has helped benefit our survival. And the things that we can smell best are rotten food. And let me tell you, when I smell rotten food, I have a very strong reaction to that. It's that kind of type of reaction. We smell fire very well too. So smoke and rotten food are two things that help keep humans alive. Either avoiding fire for things like a wildfire coming in your direction, or finding fire in terms of survival and finding a campfire, because that's a source of warmth and food for you. So that's not to say we don't have very good sense of smell. It's just different than, say, a bloodhound who can smell just the tiniest molecules of something that happened hours ago, which is amazing.
It makes me also thankful that like that's not the way we communicate. Like we don't need to go out marking trees to be like, hey, I'm here. This is where the party's at. Like, thank goodness. That's not a human thing. Like
that we're not peeing on all of our property to mark it as ours. No, thank you. I'm glad we don't communicate by smell.
Although what's the t-shirt test? There is right?
There is some
cool
subconscious type of smell recepting that humans have that seems to indicate that we're really good at identifying people who are different than ourselves and have a good mix of DNA that would be helpful in a mate. So kind of cool.
Biology, all about passing on the genes.
It's wild. All right. So we've talked eyes, nose. Let's talk teeth, and let's point out a couple of examples here. Well, first we'll just start with my general small-ish mammal. This is I was going to give it away. I'm not going to give it away. This is a small mammal that eats a variety of foods that's found here in Washington. And this is a skull that's brought to us pretty frequently. They're a commonly found animal. And we can look and see the different types of teeth. So right in the very front, these are the incisor teeth. You can think of them as like the chisel teeth. I always like to picture eating an apple. These are the teeth that you're going to use to bite into that apple. Then we have the canine teeth. And though this animal is not a canine, it does have those canine teeth. named after dogs. But for example, well, I mean, Alfonso has canine teeth, and you do too. They just don't stick down very far unless maybe you're a vampire.
Which is cool. You do you.
So these canine teeth, these are, I call them your beef jerky teeth. If you're going to bite into beef jerky, you're going to line up your canine teeth and kind of dig into that hard food. And then in the back, we have the molars, or the grinding, crushing, chomping teeth. So these are your om-nom-nommers. That's how I like to explain them.
I love it.
Very technical. So these teeth in the back are helping to crush up the whatever the food is to help release those nutrients. And then they'll swallow that and carry on.
And if you're something like a bird that doesn't have teeth, then you eat things like rocks so that the rocks can do that grinding part for you, which is kind of wild. Ooh, I love that we have some folks guessing. We'll definitely tell you whether you're what things are a little bit later in
We'll explain here, but so here are 2 replica skulls that we have that are showing the beak instead of teeth. That birds do not chew their food, and that's similar to a lot of animals. Fish tend to not chew their food. They'll usually kind of swallow it whole and sometimes spit it out and re-eat it. If you've ever had pet fish, that might be something that you recognize from their behavior.
So like elephant seals, and other ones that eat rocks.
Just if you can't chew your food, you're gonna need a way to grind it up internally, which is just super weird and cool. If we're talking herbivores, we're going to be examining animals that have teeth. Oh yeah, those are. Sorry, I forgot you had that. Here's another one. So these are grinding teeth designed for eating plants. The plant eaters, the cell wall of plants is really, really hard, and you have to really grind and grind and grind to be able to extract nutrients from that. So that's hard on teeth. So animals that are grazers tend to have teeth that continue to grow. They're kind of soft in the center of them. That's like the pulp area. And then they have the dentin on the outside. That's the hard enamel that you see. Really, really cool to get a look at those. And then most notably, the canine teeth tend to be absent. Not always, like horses can have canine teeth, but they tend to be absent. And sometimes they don't even have those top incisors. This animal only has bottom incisors and would use this up against their gum, their hard palate of their gums, to be able to take a bite.
Yeah.
And then again, eyes on the side. So herbivores tend to be prey species.
Yeah, and sometimes when you find a skull, you might be missing some of these clues. Like this skull doesn't have that lower jaw, so it might be, I don't know, does it have wild teeth that are on the bottom?
Yeah, and sometimes you'll find a piece of bone that's not even a skull at all, but it kind of resembles it. So bird breastbones, especially of waterfowl and ducks, looks a lot like a skull, but it's missing some of these key characteristics.
Okay.
All right,
so we have size, we have eyes, we have nose, we have teeth. What's the next thing?
Let's talk jaws. And to talk jaws, I got to bring out the biggest jaws. You can show that one. That's a good jaw.
No.
This one I think is my most
most
powerful jaws. So when you're looking at the jaw of the animal, the jaw is separate from the cranium. So your jaw, you can feel it, and you can feel where it attaches with muscle and skin up on the sides, and you can kind of flex your teeth and feel how it kind of moves in here. And then the jaw is going to go up and underneath that cheekbone. So you can see the cheekbone here. Yours, you can feel it. It doesn't wiggle when you chomp your teeth. And then it's going to attach right up here on the temple area. On this animal, the jaw is really, really large. So there's a huge amount of muscle here. And then it's going to fill this area attached to the entire skull all the way to the back, where there's this cranial ridge and this kind of flare out the back of the skull. That's all muscle attachment for jaws. This is an animal with an incredibly strong bite. And I'm sure some of you can guess what it is just by looking at it. It doesn't really look like anything else. Super cool.
And of course, this one
is a replica.
It's a replica. It seems like the lower jaw is attached, but that's just because there's some fancy hardware.
Let me grab Alfonso's jaw off the floor.
It's not attached, but you can line it up in kind of this little socket, And then if you're handling skulls, it's usually if you find that you're like having to force it, take a pause, realign, and then it should close nice and easily. Which for this one shows a nice another set of teeth that work like scissors. And these are those carnassial teeth of a carnivore. So the meat-eating cutting teeth. And so they just fit together really beautifully. So
love it. All right. So jaw, the size of the jaw can tell you a little bit about the bite strength of the animal. Looking for a ridge on the top of the skull can also be an indicator that it's an animal with a really powerful bite.
Do we have a ridge?
I don't have. I have kind of a divot. Is that bad?
We don't, because
got dropped
we kind of have that connection point in the temple.
It's right here.
No, don't play tug of war with your mouth with your dog.
No,
you will lose. Your dentist,
a good point.
will be sad.
Yes.
Sorry, Dad. Anyways, okay. So
the last thing that we kind of want to talk about when we're trying to identify where a skull came from, which animal species, is the size of the brain relative to the size of the rest of the skull or the rest of the animal's body. So if we're looking at humans, Alfonso here makes it really easy because it just opens right there. And if you want to see and estimate the size of your own brain, take your two fists and put them together. And Sina will show us that fits in there really nicely. Your two fists is about the size of your brain. So you're looking at this right now going like, really? That's it? That's all there is? Like, it seems like it would be so much bigger. There's not a lot of room inside your skull. The skull itself is mostly to house your face and to hold your brain. And our skull, the brain case takes up, maybe 85, 90% of the skull. There's a tiny little bit of face, a little bit of jaw, but the rest of it is mostly just a big brain houser. Compared to like some other animals, like my bird brain here. Most of the skull is face and jaw. The bit that holds the skull is only maybe the size of a marble inside there. So really, really small for this species. So we can look a little bit at the animal and determine somewhat of their intelligence or their ability to problem solve, things like that. So I think that's how to read a skull.
Yeah. So with that, we're gonna quiz you. So for those of you tuning in, get your little comment keys ready because we're gonna hold up a few different skulls, and now's your time to shine and see if we can get you to correctly guess them based on what you now know about reading a skull.
All right, let's start with a really easy one.
I was thinking we could start with one we've already held a lot.
All right.
Just because I don't think we've said it out
We
loud.
haven't. We haven't said any of them.
Yeah.
Except for Alfonso. This is like the easiest skull.
Okay, let's start with that one and then we'll come back.
Go ahead and make your guesses. The teeth are peg-like, which means they are all the same size and shape. And this is one that's actually cut me before, so I have to be really careful handling it.
Yeah.
I almost had to get stitches. But this is an animal that eats fish exclusively. It's a lie and wait predator that'll sit there, kind of waiting with his mouth open, and then when a fish comes along,
Let's see our fabulous board member Mary has a guess.
Oh, yeah.
Robin's guessing. You
guys are getting it.
Robin, that is a genius guess because those of you, you're all right. It's either an alligator or crocodile. How do we know the difference?
So I know that this is a American alligator because the overbite. So all of the upper jaw teeth go down over the lower jaw. If it were a crocodile, they would kind of interlace more. So the other lower jaw would have some teeth that kind of stick up. Also, just the size and location and I know where we got this one. So.
Isn't it also written in permanent marker?
I think it is. It is written on the back right there. It says alligator.
We're trusting. Yes. I also think
can't read
it's
that
interesting. If we were to see a live one, it's whether or not they have a tongue.
That's
and then of course I'm like, wait, which one's which? Binary is so hard to remember, y'all. I don't know. But it's an alligator.
The other thing to kind of keep in mind is that the way that they hunt is very different. So an alligator is going to be sitting eating fish primarily with its mouth open in the water. Crocodiles are more going for animals on the land. So you've all seen the National Geographic videos where the watering hole and the wildebeest come down and the croc's waiting there, and then they strike, and they're trying to grab a head or a limb to pull them under, drown the animal, and then be able to tear off chunks using their body. So they don't chew with their jaw. They actually have fairly weak jaws. But the force of their turning.
Is it the death spiral?
Yeah, the death spiral is called. Wow, this got really dark.
Anyways, okay.
Let's go to another one.
Let's go to this one. We talked about how this one has the eyes on the side, so likes to hide, likely a prey species of some sort. Also kind of balanced by the fact that it has the grinding teeth. That's a pretty good clue that this is a herbivore. Long snout.
No upper teeth in that jaw.
Yeah, no
So
big.
It's a browser.
Canines.
No big canines.
One thing we didn't mention is the ear bones on our skulls.
Oh yeah.
This one's kind of cool. Thank you. It's got really spiky auditory bula. So while it's not like big and round like a lot of like cat skulls have really big ear bones, I still would assume this is an animal
It's got
with
good hearing. Yeah.
So any guesses? I see one.
Couple people
Yeah,
bringing
yeah.
in. Nice.
Excellent.
This is one where if you lived a rural life, I will say, you may be more familiar with. This is the animal that's often hunted here in America. So this is a deer. So
Good
bravo,
job.
guessing that one.
Oh dear.
Oh dear. Little baby.
Oh baby.
And we can tell that this is a female because it doesn't have antlers, or it doesn't have even the like kind of little stems for where antlers would form, because deer shed their antlers regularly.
Is this like a artery?
It's a nerve. Yeah, they have whiskers.
Oh.
What's this? This is not whiskers, but they do have whiskers on the top section of their eyes. To get close enough to deer to look at that. They also have so like horses have the same thing. So they have like guard hairs on their eyes, as well as on their muzzle.
I learned something new.
There you go.
All right, so we've got a deer.
A deer. Let's go. Yeah.
We talked about the carnassial meat-eating teeth of this predator. Also, eyes facing forward, eyes in front, like
Big eyes in front.
Really ready for that chomp. I talked about the ear bones, so kind of another look at these. You can see these really big, round auditory bula. Good sense of hearing. The nose is kind of scraped out, but you would see a lot of that nasal bone in there, the nasal concha. But right, sometimes we're missing clues.
Yeah, so this one is one I love to show off how wide it opens. And this is a clue for how this animal dispatches its prey. So they have a really, really wide open mouth. And if you went to school here, college here in Eastern Washington, this may be a very familiar animal to you.
Ooh, that's a really good clue.
That's a great clue, right? Yeah, love it. I'm seeing it. You guys are saying, yes, this is a cougar. This is a mountain lion. This is a
puma.
Puma. They have so many names. Puma. But yeah, nope. I knew their scientific name was something concolor. Felis concolor.
Excellent.
They are a really, really cool, very efficient predator. And if we look at their skull, they have all these just great adaptations for that, like we mentioned. Let's do another one that might be a little more familiar to people.
We don't want to stump them right off the bat.
I mean, this might stump them.
Oh yeah.
So here's the skull. The teeth can maybe be your clue there. A little bit of a ridge. And I'll say this is one that you can feel when you pet an animal.
Ooh,
This is a pet type animal.
Good sense of smell.
Yep, good sense of smell. Decent sized brain compared to the rest of the skull. So a trainable animal, a problem solving, a smart, crafty problematic in some cases.
Is this another whisker hole?
It is a whisker hole. So
Oh my gosh.
on the front here, there are whisker holes. And that is like a direct nerve channel straight into the brain. So instead of going to the spinal column and into the brain, it actually goes straight in. So whiskers are very sensitive. So this is, you're right, this is a dog.
Ding, ding, ding. And then I also like the comment of just, again, thinking about, like, this is a lot smaller of a skull than I figured a cougar would be.
Yeah. What I think most people would expect from a cougar is what some of like our larger cats, like African cats. This is a leopard skull, and it's pretty big compared to the cougar. Also very strong jaw strength.
This comparison because you can really see how, because these are both felines, right? They
The
have
shape is almost
similar,
identical.
yeah.
Same with our other felines. We've got this one here. This is a wildcat that lives here in Washington as well. So smaller than a cougar, bigger than a house cat. Big, nice, wide eyes.
I think Robin guessed it earlier.
Oh, this one is the bobcat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can see size difference for sure. But again, yeah, those similar characteristics.
Yeah.
Just
And then
shrunk or
the one everybody always asks about. Hold this one up against the cougar because they're identical. So this is a domestic house cat, and the size and perspective of it is almost identical to a cougar. It's got all the same parts, all the same pieces. Here, yeah, there you go. So you can see the teeth are the same, although they're missing in the house cat.
yeah.
This is a skull that was donated to us. Somebody found it in the woods, so it's not. We don't own this cat.
We
which
used
is
to
really
have
funny.
this poster with like the key for identifying the skulls in the case. And since we're making the poster, I was like, oh, I get to use a picture of my cat because
Why not?
Why not?
She's so cute.
And then of course we have one of our junior naturalists come in. I was like, and you know, she was guessing the skulls, and then I was like, hey, look, that's my cat.
She was like,
She's like, why would you do? And that's actually the origin story of Harbor Wild Watch,
not Harbor Wild Kill.
So thanks, Stella.
I love it. Okay, so the cat skulls are generally all the same. Let's talk about another one that's pretty different from the other skulls that we have in our
Yeah, that's
collection.
a great one.
This one is a pretty easy one to guess by those big teeth.
Yeah.
So teeth like this are pretty indicative of rodents, which is the most populated group of mammals there is. There's like 1,500 species of rodents. They are very successful.
Lots of good guesses.
Yeah, this one, you guys are totally nailing it. This is the
Wait,
beaver.
I feel like we need a different call. Yeah. Beaver.
So good. So this is the beaver, and you can see their teeth have, they're fortified with iron. That's what that kind of reddish color, orangish color comes from. And these are teeth that'll grow throughout the animal's lifetime. So if they get broken or damaged, they can easily just keep growing those teeth. They won't be out of commission for too long. And if you think about it, if you have to cut down trees, if you had to do that with your own teeth, Alfonso here is going to wear through his enamel really, really quickly. So having teeth that continue to grow is a really great adaptation. And then they also have this space here that's really helpful for being able to take a wider bite so that they can get kind of around a branch or around a stem in order to chew that down, which is great. I love it. I just love the beaver skull. It's so cute.
How about this one? I talked birds earlier. One thing that's unique about bird skulls is their orbital ring. So it's actually a bony area that helps support the eyeball. So we have this nice hooked beak. We have the lowered. Yeah, this one's a replica, so it's made out of plastic.
It's normally glued on there, but
yeah,
that was a little rough. Nice.
Predator.
A very patriotic bird.
Oh yeah. You might think it has a very intimidating call, but it more giggles.
Yeah, this is one where if you see it in a movie and they pipe in sound, they put in the sound of a red-tailed hawk because they sound so much more menacing and majestic. That kind of desert cry. And then the eagles, I always think they just kind of go, and it just sounds like it didn't come from a really huge bird.
Yeah, and for all of you guessing eagle, you're totally
You got
right.
it. Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding.
Bald eagle.
Woohoo! Nice job. out there.
Speaking of beaks, here's an animal that kind of has a beak. This one is not native to Washington. This is a Florida species. It's got this really shortened little nostril right there.
It's
Super
always
cute.
funny to me when the skull looks so
Just
much like
reptiles. Really, their skulls look just like them. The alligator we showed earlier, like it's identical to its skull. They don't have a lot of fluff on their bodies. So this one is a snapping turtle, really like a cute one.
yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I wish the jaws weren't glued shut so that I could show you like the very. It's like a set of pliers or like snips. It's really, really sharp.
Impressive.
Yeah. But not from around here. Ooh, let's do this.
Oh my gosh. It's the cutest skull in our collection.
It's bitty.
I'm like, yeah, can we get
Can we get? I don't think we can.
actually the contrast of that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Can you see those tiny little canine teeth?
Canine teeth and not incisors tells me this is not a rodent.
Yeah.
So it's not a mouse or a shrew or a rat or anything like that. This is so great. This is a vampire bat. And the vampire bat has these very, very sharp fangs that are like little knives that slice right into their prey. So they're primarily consuming blood from large mammals. So a lot of like cattle is their primary food source. Yeah, watch. But it's just so tiny and I love it. And their brain is huge. And part of that is so that they can process all the auditory stimuli that they have. This is the animal that does echolocation. It's tiny. I'm always afraid I'm going to drop it when I'm teaching about it. Itty bitty.
Yeah.
I love it. Tiny little nose. So they're also not communicating by smell typically. So itty bitty small nose, but big brain so that they can
Like
echolocate.
when I peek at its ear bones. Not that it's like
back.
well,
Yeah, you can't really tell. It's too small to see much. All right, let's see.
very good. This one I think stumps a lot of people.
Oh yeah, that's a good.
Yeah. Actually, this one compared to another one.
Well, this one it looks like this one.
Perfect. Dun, 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 dun. Let's see. How do I want to do this? So first, we'll come back to this one later. Okay. So we used this one when we were talking about the different types of teeth, kind of introducing all of those. Does have a nice variety of chompers, so
Very
omnivore
varied
might
diet.
be, yes, something I'd be leaning towards.
The small size is a good
Small
clue.
size, yeah.
Smart, nocturnal. Nice big eyes on that animal. They're one of my favorites.
Yeah,
I
me
love.
too.
They're so stinking cute.
A lot of good memes about them.
They are some really great memes about them.
If
Their
had its
nickname is
floof,
the trash can.
Trash Panda. Yeah, the masked bandit, and yes, it's the raccoon.
Yeah, I love it.
Which is again kind of thinking about the size of a raccoon again without all that fluff. Like, oh, that skull's a lot smaller than maybe you would have expected. And then compared to this one, which is a type of weasel related to this other weasel. And we see these in Gig Harbor. We don't see this one in Gig Harbor.
No, I wish we did. That would be
We went
amazing.
up to Alaska or out on the coast. Maybe more likely for this species. Sometimes their teeth turn purple because of the purple sea urchins that they eat.
That's a good clue.
Whereas this one's going to be eating more of the crustaceans and maybe small little fish on the beach. You otter have some good guesses for the two of these.
I love it.
Indeed, we have the smaller
The river otter.
river otter compared to the larger sea otter. So
And
these
yeah,
get
they
about
are
30 to
they're
40
just big
pounds,
weasels.
where these are more up to 90 pounds. So
Yeah.
Yep. Little weasels.
They're super cute. All right. This is one of my favorite skulls to show off because it's an amazing predator. And if we compare it to our cougar skull that we showed you earlier, it has a lot of the same adaptations, but some of them are slightly different because this is an animal that lives a slightly different life, right? So if we take a look at the size of the skull, overall, it's pretty big. Nice, large nasal passages here, good sense of smell, and they communicate by smell. The eyes are pretty small, so smaller even than my eyes are. Like you can compare Alfonso's eye socket to this animal's eye socket, and it's smaller. Even though this is a much larger animal than a human. They have large carnassial teeth, large canine teeth, these big ones here, and then they have molars on the back side. So varied diet. They've got a good amount of jaw attachment here, so there's kind of a pocket here for the muscle to fit into, and then that jaw muscle is going to wrap all the way around to the top of the skull. Any guesses for this one?
Did you say it had a very good smell?
It does have a very good sense of smell. They love picnic baskets. You can sniff those out from a long ways away. And then they have a really big brain, which helps get them in trouble actually when they are. They're too smart for their own good when it comes to figuring out that humans are a food source. Not that they eat us, but they eat our trash or our stored food. And those of you guessing bear is correct. This is a black bear, a local species. And this is a skull local to here in Gig Harbor. So this is about as local as they get.
Yeah, and they're a good reminder for all the cute videos that are out on the internet of people feeding wildlife.
Please
don't
do not.
do that.
Do not.
Because then they get
Bears
habituated and they get too comfortable around humans, and because they
can
still
be a
a top predator, or they're up there, then they end up getting euthanized. So for the sake of the bear,
don't feed them.
Don't feed them.
Hey, boo boo.
Also, the mention of the sagittal crest
The crest on the top.
made me want to point out the otters, because sea otters eat, really hard foods like clams and urchins, and having that really strong jaw or those muscles that would wrap around there.
Really nice big sagittal crest there.
Got a good clue for that.
Plus on the otter, so this is an animal that's a little bit unique among the other animals that we've showed you, in that the brain is fairly large. This is a tool using animal. So they actually will go down to the bottom. They will select a hammer stone and sometimes even an anvil stone to crack clams and urchins and crab shells and all the hard food that they're eating, and then get a lot of the size of these molars in the back of the animal's skull here. So really, really big, about twice the size of your own molars. And the other animal I know that has really big molars in the back of its skull also eats a similar food to this. It's the wolf eel. Here in the Puget Sound Salish Sea area. Sea otters here, we have river otters instead, and they don't really go after those big urchins, but big crushy molars is what you want if you're going to go after those hard food.
And for any of you who tuned into our February Cocktails and Fishtails speaker series, we had Dr. Sarah Graham talking about how without the sunflower star species, the urchin populations are exploding. So we need urchin ranchers to go out. So if you see urchin on the menu, eat it. Feel free.
We've got an overabundance of urchins because we're lacking their big predators. So wish we had more otters here in the Sound. All right, let's maybe do one more skull.
Ooh, which one should we end on?
I'm thinking that big one right there. Okay. Oh, shoot. Let's do two more.
Okay, we definitely have one more for you.
Oh, my goodness.
After this one. Let's see.
All right.
Okay, I'm looking for the nose. What? There's no nose on the end.
There's no nostrils.
Oh, there's the nose.
The nose is
on the
way up high on the top. All right, let's find his eyeballs.
Oh gosh.
Oh gosh. Oh, open on the bottom
on the
of
back.
the eyeball. So eyeball would be here-ish.
Interesting.
Lots of
Fish-eating
shiny
teeth. Kind of like the alligator we saw earlier.
Right? Yeah, kind of long, elongated.
Pretty big brain.
Yeah, very big brain on this animal. Probably easily
Like, scale that up.
that big. Yeah, right. It's a big, smart animal. This one is a replica because animals of this variety are protected, and having artifacts from them would be illegal unless you have proper permitting. So this one's a replica. Any guesses for this one?
I saw one right guess.
All right. This one is a bottomless dolphin, but it looks very similar to most dolphin and porpoise. Yeah, kind of real typical body style for them. Love it. And this one, like I mentioned, is a replica. Unfortunately, the jaws are wired shut, so I can't show you how wide they can open their mouth. But you can just picture that big snap of the fish-eating teeth. Love it.
Yeah. Okay, which one are we ending on, Rachel?
The heavy one.
Oh, she's got this one's always really fun to like pass off to someone. So
they're not ready.
when we come back to
it's not even the full skull, it's only half of it.
Let Rachel handle it. You're doing great.
It's really heavy. Like, it doesn't look like it. It makes me look really weak, but
yeah, why is it so heavy?
So we've got a nostril right in the center with this huge amount of bone on either side. The eye socket would be right here, but we're missing the cranium part of this animal's skull. But this can be your clue, is taking a look at the teeth there.
Yes, these are not eye sockets.
No, not eye sockets. That was one weirdly shaped animal. But this one,
cool.
The teeth are fairly ground down because this is an animal that eats clams. And it actually can form such strong suction in their mouth to suck the clams from their shells. But clams are found in mud and dirt. And so that silty bottom actually wears down the teeth of this animal pretty well.
Yeah. And so then these are the holes where their tusks would be.
Really big, very dense tusks,
yeah.
which require a really thick and reinforced skull to house them.
Which is why Rachel's really busting out the muscles right here. And for those of you guessing walrus, you absolutely got it correct.
I mean, how much do you think this weighs? Like 20? This weighs like 20 pounds.
It's surprisingly
20, 30?
It's very dense.
Probably not that much, but it is heavy, and it's not even the full skull. But it really does. It looks like a walrus.
Yeah.
They don't have a whole lot of fluff on their face either. So great job. Good guessing.
And so hopefully, as you go out in the world, and if you, I don't know, are so lucky, or hopefully you consider it lucky to encounter a skull, hopefully these tips and tricks and things that you can remember and how to read a skull will help you to identify the creature that you find.
And hopefully you also appreciate some of the amazing adaptations that you have in your own skull as well. So,
like your roadmap.
Yeah, love it. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks everybody for all the likes and comments and shares. All that helps to boost the our message and get it out to even more people. So thank you for your support in that way. If you would care to donate to our organization, we are a nonprofit group and we benefit from those donations that we receive. You can make a donation on Facebook, on our website, harborwildwatch.org is the other place to donate that. So thanks everybody for tuning in with us.
Yeah, you can look forward to our monthly Science from the Skansie House coming up, and it won't necessarily be on the same day all the time because we got some tides coming our way.
We got to work around some tides and some weather, but hopefully we'll be here at least once a month, bringing some more fun programs. So thanks to everybody for sharing that with anybody you know who likes to learn and have fun.
Absolutely. See you next time.
Okay, hey TikTok, thanks for hanging in there with us. I apologize, I couldn't answer all of your questions because I was trying to do this on the one that we were gonna
Facebook Live.
We're on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok all at the same time. Okay. So thanks for hanging in there with us. Any last goals you want to see?